Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 63 of the Don't Be Ridiculous podcast. It's Sunday afternoon, about 5:30 East Coast time. Just watching, we're about halfway through the 4 o'clock games, and but we've reached the point in the season where the NFL pretty much takes over. We have Thursday football, Saturday football, Sunday football, Monday football. It starts to get pretty
Tuesday,
crazy.
Wednesday, and Friday, and they've completely taken over the week.
Yeah. So we're about to go into Christmas weekend, which is going to be pretty big NFL weekend. Obviously, the NBA is big on Christmas Day. But we're going to start off today with the World Cup. First of all, congratulations to Argentina. And I'm sure that the party will be going on for the next few months, probably. Argentina won the World Cup. They won on penalty kicks at the end of the game, and I have to say that, I'm not anywhere near as avid a follower of soccer as the other sports, but I do watch the Champions League and I watch the Premier League, and so I know a little bit about what's going on, and that was one of the best soccer matches I've ever seen. That was just incredible, and it looked like Argentina had it in the bag at one point, and because they came out like that game, Argentina came out swinging. Like
it hardly looked like France had the ball in the first half.
Yeah.
So
if France was kind of expected to be in the final, they won it 4 years ago. They still have a really good team. I kind of thought, well, France has a little bit more talent, but Argentina's got enough to beat them in the way how well they've been playing. But even when they got up 2-0, I was like, okay, Argentina struggled to hold some leads. Like Netherlands came back on them. They were up 2-0, let somebody score a goal. Like there are a couple times where they had the lead and they kind of struggled in the second half on defense. So I didn't think it was insane, but the way that France came back was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. They scored 2 goals in 2 minutes. They get Argentina scores, they get a penalty first, and then they get another goal on a break. And then, France gets a penalty about 80 minutes in, and then Mbappe scores, and they get a break, and Mbappe puts in this incredible shot that was basically like the 2 passes before that were just kind of one-touch passes, and then he just, before the ball hits the ground, he strikes it, puts it in the back of the net, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that's just high level. That's high level soccer. Just the passing, on the goals that you saw, it was just ridiculous. It's just another level, and like the second goal that Argentina got, that move basically started, Messi had a touch and he was able to get it up there. He did a great job getting it up there, and then just moving it back and forth. That's why they call it the beautiful game, because when stuff happens like that, it looks amazing, So it looked like Argentina was heading towards the win, and then there were like 10 minutes to go in regulation, and France just got 2 goals, like bam, like it was just and then you think we're going to go to penalty kicks, and then Argentina scores, Messi on the rebound, and then France scores right away. It's like, and then they go to penalty kicks, which is obviously really dramatic. So, yeah, it was that's the best soccer match I've ever seen.
Yeah, you thought over and over again, Argentina's up 2-0, then they get up 3-2, and you think, oh, okay, well, it's got to be over now, and then France manages to get a penalty, and Mbappe gets his 3rd goal of the game, which that's pretty crazy for
Who did they give the golden boot to?
Mbappe had the most goals.
Okay, so they have okay.
Yeah, so that's who that goes to. But yeah, it was incredible game. I've seen some Champions League games and that were near that level, but nothing that dramatic. Because look, in soccer, like if the World Cup is the best, that's the highest level. Like because it's only given out every 4 years. That's only the 22nd World Cup in history so far. So it's not like you don't get that many opportunities to win it, and that's the biggest deal. After that, the Champions League is probably the next highest team honor anyway. But that's completely different because those teams are kind of stacked. So you get all the best players together. So what I would say is that Champions League is the best soccer, but the World Cup means the most.
Right.
And so that's how that dynamic generally works. And for Messi to get two, I think he had two goals because he had the penalty and then he got the third goal.
Right.
So he had two goals.
He did score one in the penalty kicks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So he got 2 goals in the game, then got one on penalties, and they win the game for his basically what he said he wasn't going to play in the World Cup in 4 years. So that's his
he's like
last.
37 or something.
I think he's 34.
Oh,
33,
okay.
34.
Well, that's in 4 years it'd be 38. Yeah, exactly.
So for him to do that in his last game, and if you've watched this tournament at all, Messi has been incredible. Just absolutely ridiculous. Like even when he doesn't score, he's the assist guy on the goals. And I would just I look at him like kind of like Wayne Gretzky in hockey. Like he's in the middle of everything. He completely changes the game. He takes every free kick. And it's just a different deal. And like I said, I don't think Argentina talent-wise, I don't think they're as good as France or England or Germany. I don't think they have as much talent as those other teams, but you get Messi playing like that and you get everybody else. He raises up everybody else's level.
Yeah.
And, you could tell which team wanted it more. There was no doubt about it. So, incredible career. And
I mean, and Messi, I don't think it's official or it hasn't been agreed to, but the MLS team in Miami has been trying to sign Messi because as these players get older, they can't play in the leagues in Europe, so a lot of times they end up coming to the MLS. So that would be kind of cool. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but
Yeah, a lot of guys do that. They kind of finish out. David Beckham did it. They come over and finish their career in the United States. I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, his team is, Paris Saint-Germain is still alive for the Champions League in the springtime, so he still got a chance to get another one of those. But yeah, it was overall incredible World Cup. I thought it was fantastic. The games were really good. The teams, that England-France game, I thought that was the best game so far, and then this game kind of trumped it. And it was really fun to watch. I'm really glad that I got to really see a lot of it this time. And obviously, in 4 years from now, we're going to get to see a lot of it because it'll be in the United States.
Right.
And the timing, I got to give it to Fox. They started the game at 10, which left 3 hours.
It ended just before the football started.
Yep. So I mean, just think about that. Listen, this has been my contention for many years now. Soccer is the best bang for your buck because it's constant action. There's no commercials except at halftime, okay, or except when you're going into overtime, whatever. They got the regulation, extra time, and penalty kicks under 3 hours.
Yep.
Like you can't beat that. You just can't beat it. Any of these NFL games go to overtime. I mean, it's 3.5 hours at least.
Yeah. But a lot of times you're into it, which is, it's okay, But, I mean, college football, that's the problem. And I don't want to get too much into it, but that's what we've complained about with college football. Like, it takes 4 hours just for regulation. I mean, which is just insane. But
it's absurd. But, so incredible World Cup. I'm proud of I thought the U.S. did as well as they could do.
Yeah.
And, really happy about that. I was kind of rooting for England. I kind of wanted to see them win just because I think it's because, I see a lot of their players because if we watch the Premier League, like basically all of them are playing in it. So I know all their guys, pretty well. So I kind of wanted them to win and they almost beat France. So if they had, I think they probably would have made it to the final. But it just shows how weird a game soccer is sometimes. Argentina is completely dominating the game. We're 75% into it. Argentina's basically got it in the bag, and all of a sudden, it's like, what's happening? And you don't see that. You don't see that in championship matches. You just don't see that. Like 4 years ago when Croatia lost to France 4-2, it was a great match. But you just don't. You don't see that many goals. Usually somebody wins 1-0 in the final because the defenses are just so good. But in this game, those two teams had so much talent you couldn't keep control of the game.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun.
Yep. So look forward to 4 years from now. All right. So let's go into the Dolphins. Dolphins lose to the Buffalo Bills on a last-second field goal in what ended up being a driving snowstorm, and basically the third quarter, halfway through the third quarter, basically turned into that. And my overall take on it is that I'm happy with the way the Dolphins played. I thought the defense played pretty well considering. If it wasn't just for some freak plays by Josh Allen, they played really well. It's just he made the plays to win the game. I think that they did a good job managing the offense. You and I were complaining we would have liked if they'd have run the ball a little bit more. Looking at the stats, I mean, they ran the ball 25 times, they threw it 30 times. I feel like if, they get 4 or 5 more carries, especially on those critical downs, they probably win the game. But they dropped a touchdown in the end zone. They made some other mistakes that, there wasn't just that one thing, but I feel like that made a big difference. They were running the ball so well in the game. And I feel, I've been watching now, what are we, 13 games, 14 games into the season. And I still feel like McDaniel has his foot on the gas a little bit too much. And I kind of think that, he's got to kind of manage that better. I feel like he did a little bit better in this game because they were able to run the ball so well. But at the same time, I feel like, if you're asking Tua to do certain things, I think we can kind of see it now. There are just certain throws Tua's just not going to be able to make. Or he's not going to be able to make them consistently enough to win games. The throws to the outside are just difficult for him. You saw it in that game. The corners were able to get to the ball, because it took so long to get there. And, the deep throw, like there's just things that are, he doesn't have all of the tools in the toolbox. He has enough, right, to win games, but he's got to be managed like every other quarterback needs to be managed. But the coach needs to do, I feel like the coach kind of lost sight of how well they were running the ball. And Mark Sanchez was saying it on the broadcast. Like, they don't abandon the running game. And the last drive the Dolphins had, they ran the ball one time.
Yeah.
And so it kind of that kind of cost them the game. But overall, I'm pleased with the performance. I'm disappointed that they couldn't have at least – if they'd have put that kind of effort into one of the last 2 games, they would have won one of them.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's the part that disturbs me. Like, if the quarterback wasn't awful in the last 2 games, they would have won one or maybe not both of them. And so, yeah. So anyway, I'll let you.
Yeah, so, I mean, first of all, just I don't really have any complaints about Tua from this game. I feel like Tua did what Tua's, like you said, Tua's a quarterback that needs to be managed, but I feel like he did what you need him to do. He threw those nice touchdown passes, the one to Tyreek Hill and the one to Jalen Waddle. Great job by Jalen Waddle, outrunning the guy and getting to the end zone. And then he basically threw a third touchdown pass. I mean, Sherfield should have caught that. He's like falling into the end zone. The ball's like right in his lap. I mean, so that's kind of like, and then the throw before that, that's a more difficult catch to make. But, Tua put the ball like in a pretty good spot where Tyreek Hill, you thought maybe he could have had that. So, Tua could have been a little bit more accurate on a few throws. His completion percentage wasn't as good as you would like. But, again, he was fine. And even on that last drive, he got 2 nice completions. And it's like, okay, and we were texting during the game, and I even texted you, like, on this last drive, I think Tua needs to make a couple throws. And I'm like, okay, you just made a couple throws. Run the damn ball. Like Tua's done. He's done about as much as you're going to expect him to do. So you need to, the rest of the game needs to be managed appropriately. And so, yeah, I just wonder, is this a trend we're going to see throughout the rest of the season and into the playoff game, assuming they make the playoffs, which we'll see. The Jets lost today, and the Patriots are behind as we're recording this. So, the Dolphins they were 8-3, and now they're 8-6. So that's why I think during the course of the NFL season, you got to not get too high and too low on a team, because in a couple of weeks they can be much worse off than they were before. So, and I was watching Sports Center this morning. They had Louis Riddick on. He was talking about the game. He was disturbed about Miami's defense. I think he more just meant overall over the course of the season, which I think I kind of agree with. They have not been as good as last year, and they have not really been able to get a consistent pass rush. Although I felt like they played much better in the second half. It's just Josh Allen. There's only so much you can do. And really in today's NFL, it's tied at 29 in the fourth quarter. Your defense has done well enough. That's enough. Your offense, it's like, again, when you're playing the Buffalo Bills, yeah, you're probably going to have to score more than 30 points. And the funny thing is, really, you look at it, if Sherfield catches that touchdown pass, that's 4 more points.
Well, and the play at the end of the half where Josh Allen throws a touchdown pass at the buzzer at halftime. Like, if they don't get that, so, the game only came down to a few plays. And, I feel like the pass rush is actually the part of their defense that you could rely on in the last 4 to 5 weeks, because you can't rely on the secondary because it's just too injured. We haven't had the full complement of guys out there basically the whole season. So, you got Xavier Howard and Javon Holland, and you're hoping that they can make as many plays as they can. And it's difficult. So I feel like the pass rush, did their job. It's just Allen's a nightmare to try to get him on the ground.
Yeah.
Once he gets outside and you miss him, like, he's really hard to tackle. And he was the difference in the game. He made the big plays that he made are what changed the game. So overall, I feel like I'm happy with this performance by the Dolphins. I'm just disappointed in the last 2 games because those games those games were there to be won.
Yeah, I just think looking forward, they're not done building this team up. In the offseason, either through the draft or through free agency, they need to see if they can improve the offensive line more, because they need to be able to, because again, if you're going to get the most out of Tua, you've got to be able to run the ball really well. I mean, the year the 49ers went to the Super Bowl with Garoppolo, they ran the ball exceptionally well, So, but they didn't have receivers like, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So I just think if they can address that, then this team can kind of maybe take a step up, even given the limitations that Tua has, so we'll see. I mean, I'm not upset with Tua after this game, but I just think McDaniel needs to adjust. And sometimes with coaching, it seems like coaches learn kind of the hard way. You make the mistakes and then you go, oh, I got to fix this. So we'll see.
Yeah, I really liked what they did where he, get him quick throws, have Tua throw the checkdowns out of the backfield, because that kind of stuff is what's going to be open because of the way the defenses are playing you now. The screen passes, the short little slants and crossing routes. Like, they hit Tyreek Hill on a crossing route, and I was kind of like, where has that been? Like, why have they not been doing more of that? Because that's how you beat, if they're going to play straight up man, especially, within 5 yards, like, those are the plays you got to run. So I think it's good to see them make the adjustment, but it was basically because they were able to run the ball as well as they did. They ran the ball. I mean, they averaged 7.5 yards a carry. I don't understand why they didn't. It's just confusing. I don't understand why they didn't run the ball.
I'm not saying they should have ran the
ball
ball 50 times. They ran it 25. No. Run it 32 or 33. Like, literally, if you'd done that, that might have been the difference in the game.
Well, even those 2 or 3 3rd-and-1 calls, if they'd just run the ball and gotten first downs, totally different game. So it's just kind of, I understand that McDaniel's style is a little different, but especially in the second half when it started snowing like crazy, it was like we've been able to run the ball on them. We should keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess the only other thing I'll say is that I think you kind of pointed this out. I think they need to use Gesicki more. Maybe if they're going to throw the ball in these short yardage situations, Gesicki's taller, so I feel like if you need him to go up and get the ball, I think you can, and I think they need to maybe use that a little more. Because some of the stuff they tried to do when they threw on 3rd and short, it was like, sometimes that stuff works where you got somebody coming out of the backfield and you throw it and he just is able to get a yard or two. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes you need to kind of mix some other stuff in there because I feel like the defense can kind of key into that. But
whatever. Yeah, my point with Gesicki was just that even a guy can be get right on him, but it doesn't matter. He's so big, and he also has long arms, and he's tall. So there's just a much bigger target to throw to if you have him, especially in short yardage situations.
And in those got to have
be able to cover him.
Yeah, those got to have it situations. That's what you want. You want to throw to a guy who's big and just grab the ball. As good as Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are, I'm not taking anything away from them, but Anyway.
I think but we'll see. Yeah, they have some stuff to improve upon. But look, the Dolphins have 3 games. They have 2 out of the 3 at home. They get to play. They have 3 winnable games at the end of the season to make the playoffs. If you gave me this before the season, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
I would have absolutely taken it. So, they get Green Bay at home, they get New England on the road, and then they play the last game is against the Jets at home. If they win 2 out of 3, like if they beat Green Bay and New England, I think they're basically going to be in. Like, I don't even know, we'll see what happens with the Jets. I don't think New England can win to get to 10 wins. They'd have to win 3 out of 4 games. I don't think they're going to be able to do it looking at their schedule. So, the Dolphins definitely have an excellent opportunity. And, they played those 3 tough games. All right, 3 tough games on the road. Now they have 2 out of 3 games at home against teams they can beat.
Yep.
And look they went to Buffalo and went toe to toe with them.
That's better than last year.
Yeah.
Last year they sucked against Buffalo. So that's,
right. I mean, think about it. They beat them by 2 points earlier in the season. They lose by 3. They've shown that if they play well, they can play with anybody.
Yeah.
So I like their chances. Put it that way. And we'll see how it goes. All right, so moving on to some other NFL stuff. Going back to Thursday night, I was earlier in the season, I was kind of thinking, all right, I kind of liked where Seattle was at, but you can see that it's a rebuilding team and they have some deficiencies that are probably going to keep them out of the playoffs. I mean, it's the NFC, so they still have a chance to get in because the NFC is so bad, but didn't look good. And, San Francisco, I'm sure the 49er players were watching that Indianapolis game just really annoyed that Minnesota came back from 33 points down to win it, because it would have, the 49ers would have put themselves, into the second seed. But yeah, listen, I don't think the 49ers can win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy at quarterback. Yeah. But they could, they could cause some problems. And if they're going to get a home playoff game, maybe 2 home playoff games, that's good. They're going to be a problem because they're going to be in every game. You're not blowing out the 49ers.
Yep.
So, but that being said, every game will be close because I don't know that they're really going to blow anybody out either. They don't.
Right, unless they're really playing the Bucs, who can't score except for today for some reason.
Yeah, they don't really have anybody. So that's kind of a. I thought that was kind of expected. I didn't, I thought maybe Seattle would be competitive, but they really didn't stand much of a chance.
What other games? So there was the Minnesota game. The Jaguars beat the Cowboys today. That was a pretty good game. They got that pick 6 toward the end. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, it's never been a question of talent, and I think we saw talent last year, but this year you've kind of seen more of it. Like, I'm watching him, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see it in terms of the escapability and then throwing on the run and the arm strength. So he's just got to kind of put it all together. But they're still in contention for winning the division. So, because the Colts, the Titans, they're playing the Chargers, and I guess Tannehill just got hurt. And, they can't even score that much with Tannehill. So they got some problems there. So that division is still up for grabs.
Yeah, Jacksonville, Lawrence played well today. Honestly, if he doesn't fumble the ball when they're down 3 with 5 minutes to go, they probably win the game, in regulation anyway. Cowboys have a 27-10 lead and blow it. Yep. Which basically cements the division for it's not over yet, but the Eagles are, they're 3 games up with 3 games to go. I don't see any way that they don't win that division now.
it's nice when you have A.J. Brown. I mean, dude, just throw the ball up to that guy. I mean, he'll just get it. I mean,
yeah, they're running the same routes every week, and A.J. Brown's catching it. You watch him catching it over people every single week. It's pretty darn impressive. I didn't catch all of the Minnesota Indianapolis game on yesterday, but I was kind of like, oh wow, look at the Colts, boy, that game's over, 33-0. Then by the time I checked in again, it was 36-21, and Minnesota manages to come back and win. It just that's crazy. I can't believe.
Yeah.
I know in today's NFL every team can score, but 33-0.
Yeah. If I see Matt Ryan, I think I'm going to buy him a beer and just be like, sorry, dude, that you have to go down in history as the quarterback on the other side of the biggest Super Bowl comeback of all time and the biggest regular season comeback of all time. Wow.
Yeah, that's rough. That's really rough. But it's funny, and it's a perfect game for Minnesota, right? Because they come out with the win and it just makes people believe in Minnesota even less than they did before. It's like oh, you won, great. You still suck. We don't buy anything from Minnesota at this point. And they're going to win they wrapped up the division. It's like, so they're going to get a home playoff game. So it's pretty,
well, the funny thing is, I mean, if you really look at it, Minnesota's set up to be winning that division for the next few years, really.
Yep.
I mean, looking what the Packers are dealing with, the Bears, they're still trying to figure stuff out. The Lions are, middling. I mean, good for them. They won today. They're competitive, but I mean, the Vikings are clearly the best team in that division. So.
Yeah. The Eagles played with their food today. They fooled around with the Bears.
Yeah.
Kind of let them hang around. I think Jalen Hurts had 2 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot more of a struggle than it should be. But that's what football is in December, man. That's December football. These games are going to be a struggle. Get ready. I've on Colin Cowherd's show, he's been saying the past couple of weeks, so Philadelphia's not in any close games. This is going to be a problem. Well, here we go. They had this tough game with the Bears. They're going to play the Cowboys next week. They're going to be playing. It's going to, there's going to be some tough games going down the stretch. So, I think they'll get a good test.
Yeah, but they're a really complete team. So but again, they were in the playoffs last year, but I mean, we haven't seen them win a playoff game, so it's hard to really know. It's just the Vikings with Kirk Cousins. We've got such a history that we're just like, yeah, I don't buy into this. So,
yeah. So the NFC South. Whoa, what a division! So Panthers, Saints, and Falcons are all 5-9. After the Saints beat the Falcons and the Panthers lost to the Steelers. So 3 teams at 5-9. The Bucks are 6-7. They're winning right now against Cincinnati, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But this division, I mean, if Tampa wins today, then I think it'll only take eight wins to win that division. But I don't think Tampa's very good at all. So
yeah, no.
it continues to be a complete disaster, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes today. But I can't. It's one of those things that's sinful. Like whoever gets to play. The Cowboys are basically locked up the 5 seed at this point, so they're going to get to play whoever wins the NFC South in the first game, and it seems like we know what's going to happen there.
Well, you mean the Cowboys are going to blow it, or the NFC South is going to look like shit?
I mean, either way, I was telling you the other day, I think the Cowboys will win that playoff game, but they'll look bad doing it. They'll win, but they'll get away with it,
right.
Because the team they're playing is so bad. That's not ready for the playoffs. So, the other game that was a good game was the Lions against the Jets today.
Yeah.
The Jets, unfortunately, the Jets fans, I swear to God, if they miss the playoffs this year, the Jet fans are just going to be pulling their hair out because of all the games that they have lost because of their shitty quarterback play or, not been able to finish in the fourth quarter because they just couldn't get it done. They could have beaten Minnesota. They had 2 or 3 drives with a chance to win the game. Couldn't do it. They lost the 2 games to New England. If they'd have just had anybody other than Zach Wilson playing quarterback, they probably win both those games. So, yeah, it's really disappointing. The Jets lose. Zach Wilson tries to take them down the field to get the tying field goal, but he missed it, 57-yarder. And Detroit tried to give it to him. On the last drive, they gave up a 3rd and 19 and a 4th and 18. Yep. Detroit was trying to give the game to the Jets. Jets just
couldn't pull it off.
Well, it's what's funny to me, Clark. It's like the way that you treat a 2-minute drill really depends on how good your quarterback is, right? So the Jets have the ball, they get it to midfield. There's 45 seconds left, and they're just letting the clock run. They're not in a hurry. All they need is a field goal, but they're not in a hurry. And I'm at the same time, I'm going, guys, Zach Wilson's your quarterback. You should be calling timeout to save as much time as you possibly can. You should not be in a situation where I can run, we're fine. And of course, the closest they were able to get was a 57-yard field goal, and he misses it. So it just cracks me up.
It reminds me of, it's look, for years the Patriots were winning all these games, and obviously they had Tom Brady, they had Belichick, but part of the thing that makes Belichick great is that you just situationally, it never seemed like the Patriots were screwing around. And it felt like a lot of times they'd play teams in the regular season and in the playoffs where you get into critical moments and the other team would screw up, And so
right.
A lot of these games, especially a lot of these big games, they come down to a few plays. And sometimes teams they fuck it up. They fuck up the clock management, or, they use up their timeouts too early, or there's a variety of different mistakes. People, penalties, whatever it is, people make a variety of mistakes, and then you're done. You lose. And it's like, how do we lose? It was a few plays. It's a few little mistakes. And that can kind of come down, and that can be the difference. So
that's exactly what the NFL is. Most games are decided by 4 points or less. That's how this works.
Yep.
So again, the Chiefs struggle with a team that's far inferior to them. They have to go to overtime with the Houston Texans. So, I guess I'll ask you this: are you more concerned about Buffalo or Kansas City?
I don't know. I think Kansas City can I'm not exactly sure why they would struggle with the Colts and then struggle with the Texans. Although the Cowboys struggle with the Texans as well. I don't know if that says more about the Texans or the Cowboys. I'm not really sure. I don't think I really have much of a concern about either of those teams. Who do we think the best teams in the AFC are? It's the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals. Yeah, it's basically those three. The Ravens, I don't know what's going on with Lamar Jackson's health. And they just have a certain ceiling that they can get to. So I don't really, and beyond, there's no other team that I really trust. So, each of those three teams has different issues. And it's all just going to depend on, as I've said, it's going to depend on, can they go into these playoff games and be hot at the right time and be playing the way that they want to play. So we'll see.
Yeah. I think, I have concerns about both teams, but I think I think both teams have similar issues where they just get into these games where it's just kind of like this. They can't execute on a high enough level. And, it's like with Kansas City, if you double team Travis Kelce and just make sure he doesn't beat you, they're not the same. It's not this explosive thing that you can't stop, right? Buffalo, right. It's, you got to keep Josh Allen from just destroying you, running the ball and extending plays and whatever. That's what you have to stop. If you slow that down at all, you got a chance. And it's kind of like, if you look what happened last year with Kansas City, that's kind of what happened. They struggled with, Cincinnati was playing a very basic defense. It wasn't anything insane, but Kansas City couldn't run the ball well enough. And, they didn't have another move. And so, I think that, I think Kansas City probably has more answers than Buffalo does.
Okay.
Josh Allen's a pretty good answer.
Yeah. Well, it's like I feel like if we're comparing receivers, Travis Kelce's a Hall of Famer, right? Stephon Diggs is potentially. Stephon Diggs is really good, but they also got Gabe Davis, who's really good. They got that tight end who's just big, who's huge, and can just run over people. So it's it's just. I guess maybe you could argue the Chiefs have more weapons, maybe, but I don't. It's it's 6 more. It's just you're splitting hairs, really. At the end of the day, it's just who can play well at the right time, and it doesn't necessarily indicate that one team's better than the other because you beat them in a playoff game. So.
Yeah, I think I think this. Everybody wants to try to handicap this, but I don't think you can. I think, like you said, those 3 teams are the 3 teams that I would look out for, and they can all beat each other. They've all shown that they have the ability to beat each other. I do like to point out a lot that Kansas City has lost 3 games in a row to Cincinnati. They've lost 2 out of 3 to Buffalo.
Yeah.
And the one game that Kansas City won, it was a miracle. 13 seconds left, they probably shouldn't have won. So I don't think any of those teams should feel great about where they should be happy, with where they're at, that they're in the playoffs, they're going to get a high seed and all that. But I wouldn't be thrilled with it.
Yeah.
So, just kind of going through the playoff picture. So right now Buffalo has the 1 seed because of their win over Kansas City. Kansas City's the 2, but like you brought up Cincinnati, this whole thing could flip because Cincinnati's playing Buffalo in a couple of weeks.
Oh.
And so, yeah. So that could
Cincinnati beats Tampa Bay today.
Right. So that could dramatically shift the entire thing. One of those 3 teams is going to get the 1 seed. I can't tell you who it is.
Right.
I don't know which one yet because we'll see how these things shake out. But it's going to be interesting going down the stretch. Those 3 teams have a shot. Baltimore, yeah, the injuries are a problem. They looked really bad against Cleveland. They need Lamar Jackson to be anywhere near what they're capable of. So Tennessee's got the 4 seed because of they're leading the division. Baltimore's 5 right now. Miami is the 6. New England at 7, and right now the Chargers and Jets are out of the playoffs.
Right.
But we'll see how it goes. If New England loses, then I would obviously put the Chargers in. Well, if the Chargers beat Tennessee, they're playing Tennessee, so we don't know what's gonna shake out with that.
Yeah, and the Chargers beat the Dolphins, so they got the tiebreaker.
Right. So in the NFC, the Eagles have a 2-game lead with 4 games to go for the 1 seed, and they have the tiebreaker over Minnesota. So Philadelphia, if they win their next 2 games, they clinch the whole thing, and they can just chill out the last 2 weeks of the season. So we'll see how that goes. Basically, to me, it comes down to is Philly beats the Cowboys next week, it's kind of done. It's over with. That'll clinch the division, and then they're basically a game away from clinching the 1 seed. Minnesota's a 2 seed. They're only 1 game up on San Francisco. So Minnesota needs to be careful because that could be San Francisco sealing their spot. And then Tampa Bay right now has the 4 seed, which is just
the Bucks or the Bengals just scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Was that a fumble or that was an interception? Oh, that was an interception. Wow, what an interception. Sorry, I'm watching on the game on my phone. Okay, so 17-13. So, yeah, maybe the Bucks are blowing this game now. We'll see.
Yeah, I would trust Cincinnati to finish in the 4th quarter. So Dallas has got the 5 seed, and they basically have a 2.5 game lead for the 5 seed. So, if Dallas loses next week to Philadelphia, they might be taking it easy. The past couple of weeks because I don't think anybody's going to come from behind and pass them. And then at 6 and 7, we got Washington and the Giants. They're both 7-5-1, and they play tonight. So whoever loses that game could be in danger.
And then Detroit's on the outside looking in.
Seattle and Detroit are both 7-7.
Okay.
So either one of those teams still has a shot to get in. They still have a chance to pass whoever loses tonight between the Giants and the Commanders.
Right.
Carolina, Saints, and the Falcons, none of them are out of it, as crazy as that sounds. But they really need Tampa to lose this game today.
Because Carolina lost to the Steelers, right?
Yep, Carolina lost, and the Falcons lost. But I think the Falcons have basically packed it in. They're starting Desmond Ridder. So they've
Yeah,
basically kind of.
I heard Mariota just left.
The thing was with that, like he was already like they had already not decided it, and I think he had a kid. I think his wife was pregnant, so I think that's why he left. I don't think it's just he just took off. Like I heard, basically, I think Peter Schrager was saying this that, yeah, he did have a child born. Like this wasn't just I'm out of here, see you later. So we need to chill out on some of these stories. Sometimes it's a bit much. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes at the end of the season. I think I still feel really good if I'm a Philadelphia fan. I feel excellent about them, being able to have a great chance to get to the Super Bowl. They basically just have to win one home playoff game against a team that they've probably already beaten, to get to the NFC Championship game at home. So I think that's going to be interesting. I like where Cincinnati's at. They're going to be tough to beat, but you could give me any one of those three teams in the AFC, and I would buy it. So,
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting the rest of the way. Wow.
Oh, Joe Burrow just took about a 30-yard sack.
Wow.
But there's a flag on the play, so we'll see what happens. Holding on the defense, so they're fine. They're fine. Anyway, so yeah, any other NFL topics you wanted to?
I'm trying to think if there's anything. No, I think we pretty much covered it. I mean, the Dolphins next week are playing Green Bay at home.
Correct.
So, all right. So that'll be good. a home game after three straight road games,
and not in prime time. Finally, we get 2 straight 1:00 games, and then I would imagine the game against the Jets will be a 1:00 game, depending on what the standings are in the division, because they don't schedule the times.
That's a home game, so all right.
Right, okay. They don't schedule the times for the last week until they know where everybody stands in the playoffs, so that there's not a team playing that has nothing to play for. So we'll see how that goes. But all right, so what else did we want to do? You wanted to do sports grievances, right? I am not prepared for this at all, but I'm
well,
ready
you can probably comment on some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. Yeah, so last year we had the idea to do a Festivus episode of the podcast where we would air our grievances. If you guys have seen that episode of Seinfeld. Yeah, it's the holiday season. I think Hanukkah starts tonight, and then Christmas is obviously in a week, and then obviously New Year's is a week after that. So so we'll do the Festivus episode. We'll do the airing of grievances. I've got some sports grievances, and then I have a non-sports grievance that I have to talk about because I've started to become obsessed with it. It's kind of probably disgusting. I probably need help, but whatever.
We all need help.
Yeah. So I guess one of the first things I'll say is that people who seem to think that there's something wrong with the Buffalo Bills. Over the course of the season, people have been trying to just poke holes in the Buffalo Bills just all over the place. It's just like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if they can run the ball well enough. And in some of these close games, I don't know. I mean, they lost to the Vikings, and they're the 1 seed in the AFC, okay? They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Dolphins. They lose to the Vikings. I mean, he fumbled the snap. Josh Allen fumbled the snap. Okay. And then Nick Wright, I don't think they can really beat the Chiefs. They've beaten them 2 out of 3 times in the last 2 years, and they basically beat them in the playoff game. Okay? So just stop. Okay? I understand that we need content and you guys have to talk about something, so you got to kind of poke holes in something, but there's teams that have serious problems. Like the Tampa Bay Bucks can't fucking score. Okay? They have problems. Okay? The Bills, they got problems like any other team, but come on, guys. They're still the number 1 seed in the AFC. They're one of the 5 or 6 Super Bowl contenders in the whole league. Okay, so just
if they're the 1 seed, who are you picking to go to Buffalo and beat them?
Yeah, you could pick the Chiefs, you could pick the Bengals, and it's like, okay, fine. Those 2 teams are really good. Like, what are we really saying here? Like,
but Buffalo will be favored in their home games. In blizzards, they will be favored. Okay,
Exactly. So it's
because
just
if
like,
you
guys,
watch,
just stop.
yeah, absolutely. If a game comes down, especially because the thing is, it starts to limit scoring, right? So you're getting a game in the low 20s. Like then it's just, can Josh Allen make 4 or 5 plays that you can't stop because you don't have Josh Allen? That's all it comes down to.
Pretty much.
So
Yeah.
we need to stop acting like. Yeah,
And then I'm not going to take credit
away.
away from the Bills because that Vikings game, that game was nuts. Okay, like every now and then teams lose a game that's just totally nuts. Just I'm not ripping on a team for that. Let's see another grievance. Analysts who clearly don't watch film and don't watch the games. Okay, you've listened to them, you've seen them on TV, you hear them talking about stuff, and you're just like, do you know what the hell you're talking about? Are you watching any of this? Are you just pulling shit out of your ass every day or every week to kind of come up with topics and things to talk about? You see it in the NBA, you see it in the NFL, where it's just like, did you see a couple highlights of this game, and now you're basically you're extrapolating that to basically be an entire thesis on a particular team or a particular game? It's just one of those things that's glaringly obvious and gets really annoying. And that's why there's certain analysts you just don't listen to, because it's like they don't know what the hell they're talking about. There's other ones where you're like, okay, this guy's actually watched the film and he actually has the things that you're saying are grounded in reality and grounded in research. Okay, that was another grievance. What was the other one I had? Oh, okay. People who think that Deshaun Watson is a top 3 quarterback in the league, or was before, the whole thing, which we don't need to get into, which, obviously Deshaun Watson is a great respecter of women. I guess that's what we'll say. Right. But anyway, I'm just like, okay, people are saying that. I'm like, he's top 3 when was Deshaun Watson top 3 in the league? I guess he was ahead on the Chiefs in that playoff game, but I'm just like, really, we're putting him there?
No, I don't think he was ever. We ever thought of him as top 3 in the league.
Some people did, and I've heard them say it. That's why I'm like, what are you guys
I don't
saying?
think that was that. That's the funny part. That was never the case. Top 10, maybe.
Yeah,
like
top
when
10,
that
top
team
12,
was
okay.
The last year he played for Houston when they won 4 games, and he threw for I don't know how many yards. He was insane. He was great that year. The team sucked, but he was really, really good.
Yeah,
and,
but even that's almost an indictment. It's like, okay, so you're not good. So you're not elite enough to drag a bad team to.
But he took them to the division. They won the division a few times. It's not like he's never played on a team that was good and taken them anywhere. He's won a couple playoff games. He's not, But yeah, I think that now it's going to be kind of funny now because as he starts to get better, he's only getting. Cleveland's probably not going anywhere, so we'll see what happens the last 4 weeks of the season. He'll start to play better, and then next season he'll come in and everyone will be like, "Oh wow, Deshaun Watson's good." It's like, yeah, he was always good.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. I'm like, I feel like I need to see more because when I watch some of these other quarterbacks, I'm like, okay, I've either seen them go on playoff runs or I've seen them do, and I've seen Deshaun Watson do some things that are kind of wow, but it's like, I don't know. I kind of need to see more. Another grievance I had was there's a lot of talk on sports talk radio and also just on the internet, on YouTube, and then on TV, where people talk about, well, if you're going to be on this team's bandwagon, then there are rules involved, and I just, you know what? I'll be a fan of a team however the fuck I want. How about that? Okay, if I want to jump on the bandwagon, I'll jump on the bandwagon. If I want to get off, I'll get off the bandwagon. Okay, I'm not going to sit there and go, well, I jumped on the bandwagon, so now I can't jump off because I saw something and that makes me question how good this person is. People are like, oh, well, no, you got to be on there for the good and the bad. No, that's to me, that's not how being a fan works. So you're telling me if my team absolutely sucks, I got to watch every single game and just be miserable the whole damn season? No. If a team really, really sucks, I'm not watching. Okay, I got other stuff to do.
Well, yeah, I was thinking today, the Broncos are playing the Cardinals right now. Both teams stink. Both teams' quarterbacks are out. Neither team's going anywhere. If I'm a fan of that team, I'll go find something else to do. I'm not watching them on TV. Get out of here.
Yeah, and a lot of this came up with Tua, over the last previous 2 weeks, and then I guess after this game they'll probably talk about it too. Because Tua played like crap against the 49ers and the Chargers, and people are like, oh, well, if you're going to be on the bandwagon, no, okay? I'm watching, I'm looking at it with my eyes, I'm looking at stats, and I'm going, what does this really mean? And then I'm making judgment calls based on that. Okay, I'm not just going to go, well, I mean, I know he really, really sucked, and he looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league over these 2 weeks, but I'm going to completely ignore it because I'm on the bandwagon. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know what the rap song is, but there's one that says there are levels to this. You know, there are levels to this. Okay.
Okay.
Like I'm in on Tua. Like I believe in Tua can be a starter in the NFL. You know, I believe in, he can win games in the NFL. Like, yeah, I believe in that. Absolutely. I don't believe in he's an elite quarterback and he can take a average roster and make them, make all the elevate everybody else around him. No, I don't believe that. Now, do all quarterbacks need help? Of course they do. So no, I'm not on the bandwagon that Tua is the answer to our problems and we shouldn't judge anything.
Well, I'm on that same bandwagon, but I'm not on the Tuanon bandwagon. I'm not on I thought of something this week that I thought was pretty funny. It basically feels like for the Tuanon people, if you say anything negative about Tua, like, or take a little bit of credit away or just kind of say, he's this, but he's only up to here. He's not, whatever. They get all mad at you. And it kind of reminds me of that movie, Joe Dirt. Christopher Walken had a small part in it, and someone makes fun of Joe Dirt, and Christopher Walken's character says, hey, you're talking to my guy all wrong. It's the wrong tone. You do it again, I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron. That's basically how these Tuanon people seems to be. It's like you say anything like, well, I mean, he hasn't really beaten any good teams. He hasn't made the playoffs yet. It's like, hey, wrong tone. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. Okay, and then last, but certainly not least, my non-sports grievance. Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Okay, people. I'm slowly losing faith in humanity. Okay? Because apparently this movie is going to make all kinds of money. It's going to get all these really great reviews. And everyone's going to say, oh my God, it's so visually stunning. Okay. It's all fake. It's all CGI. Everything you're seeing on the screen is CGI. Every now and then there's like a human character or something. By the way, I haven't seen the movie because it's 3 hours and 10 minutes long. And you know what, James Cameron? Go fuck yourself. I'm not sitting in a theater for 3 hours watching a video game on a screen. Okay?
I'd rather go to the Cardinals-Broncos game than go see
yeah. You know what? Get a beer and just, laugh at how much these teams suck. Yeah, so I'm reading a bunch of reviews, and I'm watching reviews on YouTube and stuff, and people are just like, well, I mean, the plot and the acting leaves a little bit to be desired, but it's just so visually stunning. Okay, is that where we are, people? Really? Like you're watching something that really doesn't mean anything because you don't give a shit about any of the characters because the acting's terrible and the plot sucks, but you're still in there because, oh my God, it's so visually stunning. Are we all a bunch of 6-year-olds? If you have little kids, they keep making those like cartoonish movies that are like CGI, whatever, like Cars or, all those different things.
The Pixar movies, yeah.
Yeah, Pixar movies, there you go. And basically, if you watch any of these movies, nothing's really happening. It's just all a bunch of bright, shiny shit that just keeps kids entertained for 2 hours. It's like, is that what we are? We're all a bunch of 6-year-olds. We're just watching, oh my God, look at this. The other thing that's kind of amazing to me is that we've gone from, okay, so now it's okay that everything you're seeing on the screen is CGI, so it doesn't look real. It looks like a video game. I want to make that absolutely clear, okay? Any of the previews I've seen or any clips of the movie that have made it online that I've seen, it all looks fake. It all looks like a video game. And people are like, oh, my, what are you talking about? No, it all looks fake, okay? We've gone from that being okay, and we're like, oh, it looks so real, from where we were, like, remember the Star Wars prequels, how George Lucas used way too much CGI for, like, every fucking thing? So, it's like, the characters are walking around and everything, they're obviously walking around in front of a blue screen, or green screen, whatever, and, everyone was complaining about that because it doesn't look real, and yeah, it didn't look real, okay? But now we're totally okay with this in Avatar. We're like, oh my God, it looks so real. It doesn't look real. It looks like a damn video game. I keep saying that like 4 or 5 times, but it's like, guys, I don't get this. Okay, and the first one was up until I think it still is. The first Avatar was the highest grossing movie of all time, and I'm just like, faceplant. Like, guys, really? That's the highest grossing movie of all time? The acting sucked. And I just, again, I keep having to say this. It's like, watch, from the first movie, and then obviously this one, I guess you could say the effects are somewhat better. But it's just, there's other movies that have been made where you have something fake, but you have something real with it, and that helps pull you into the story. Okay, like Jurassic Park, when they first see a dinosaur, it's the Brontosaurus, right? And they're in the Jeep, and they're in a real place, and then there's CGI over there, and they're reacting to it, and you're like, oh my God, okay? And then like the stuff where the T-Rex is, attacking everybody and all that stuff, you have real people and real stuff with CGI in it, And so that's why I'm getting annoyed with all these people saying, "Oh my God, it's so realistic. Really feels like you're in that world." And I'm like, dude, I could give you like 10 movies where they don't have as much special effects, and you feel like you're in that world, like Blade Runner 2049 or that movie Dune that they just made, which wasn't that great, but I mean the acting was fine, and I mean you felt like you were in that world because of the sound effects and because the way everything was shot, and they did a great job with whatever CGI they had to use. Even, look, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which was horrible, even that you're watching it and you feel like you're kind of there because there's some CGI, but there's a lot of reality around it, But this Avatar stuff, it's just a bunch of blue people who, I mean, look, I think the designers did as best as they could, and I'm not saying it looks like unbelievably, horribly fake like some CGI used to look, but it doesn't look that great. So I'm losing faith in humanity because it's like, seriously, this movie's going to make a bunch of money, and not only is it going to make a bunch of money, people are going to say, a bunch of reviewers, people with credibility are going to say that this is awesome. And I just, I guess the last point I'll come back to is, shouldn't the acting and the story matter more than that? I can understand being wowed by special effects. Special effects are cool, and I'm not saying, I don't have anything against that. And I think it can add to a movie, but if the main gist of the movie isn't the story that pulls you in, then how the hell do you, like, that was my whole problem with the first movie. Like, literally, within 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, first of all, I got to listen to Sam Worthington do a voiceover for another 2.5 hours, which I was not excited by because I don't think he's a good enough actor to carry a movie like that. And then also, I'm just watching it, and I'm like going, this all looks fake. This looks like I'm watching a cutscene from a PlayStation game. Like, anyway, that was kind of my big overriding grievance, which I should probably stop talking about because I keep looking up stuff just like angry at like how stupid a lot of people apparently are, but whatever.
Well, I mean, I just look at it like this: like everything's splintered now. There's a million different. There's so much available, so much entertainment available now that to get people together to watch one thing, whenever you do that, it's going to make a lot of money. The Avengers movies are just going to make a lot of money just because it just has a universal appeal that's going to get a bunch of people to see it. That's what's going on with Avatar. But what I will say is, yeah, and listen, I do think we should use our brains a little bit more than that. And I care a lot more about the story and the acting and all of those things than I do about how it looks. Like that, if it looks cool, that's kind of like a nice side thing, but I don't really care that much. If it's good enough to capture my attention, that's all I need. So yeah. When I was traveling back in August, in the hotel, I don't have 4K on any of my devices, but the hotel room did. So I'm watching Terminator 2 in 4K, and it's pretty darn cool. Like, I mean, it's pretty. Now, granted, I'm talking about a movie that they've taken, right, that didn't have anywhere near as much computer effects and CGI in it as a movie would now, and then they've made it look better, with the newer technology, and it looks fantastic. It was like, wow, this is really cool. It feels like you're there. These look like real people in front of me talking to each other. So I feel like in a lot of ways that does work. But yeah, I think that some of these movies are kind of overrated. Like we were talking about, like what were we going to talk about? Like the most overrated movies ever.
Yeah.
and like half of them were James Cameron, right? So it's like, we could just go through. Like, I think we probably need to take a little time and do a little more details on it, which I need to do a little more research on it so I can kind of nail this down. But yeah, I feel like, we were talking about it in a lot of these James Cameron movies, like Titanic. Everybody saw it.
Yeah.
Everybody saw it in the theater. Everybody saw it more than once because they kept it in the theater forever because everybody kept going, right? Because we didn't have streaming. It was way before streaming.
Yeah.
So, and listen, was Titanic good? Absolutely. But this earth-shattering movie that everybody thinks it is, I just didn't feel that way. I liked it, but I saw it once. I have no necessarily any desire to see it again.
Yeah.
And the other movie that I've been complaining about for as long as it's been out is No Country for Old Men. Like, I know that there may be some deeper literary meaning that I don't get. Like, maybe I'm not smart enough, but I watched it. I left the theater like, what the hell did I just watch? Like, what was the point of all of that? I have no idea what's going on. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe I'm not smart enough. But if you have to be, significantly smarter than me to get a movie, I'm not sorry. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's one that I tried watching multiple times because it's slower moving, and I guess it felt a little bit like a Western. And I've watched Westerns, and I like some Westerns, and I don't mind if it's slower moving. I mean, like the spaghetti Westerns with Clint Eastwood, they're kind of slow moving, but I don't know, they're kind of cool, and like the characters you kind of get into, But to me, that my whole thing was that I'm watching that movie, and I'm like, what character am I supposed to identify with here? And maybe it was nobody, but I don't know. There was just nothing that really pulled me into the movie. That's kind of my main thing. I guess one of my main complaints about a lot of movies. If something doesn't pull me in, then after about 20 or 30 minutes, I don't give a shit. And then at that point, you can't make me give a shit because I've been sitting there for 20 or 30 minutes like, what the hell's going on here? Why do I care about this? And any movie that I can think of that's like good or really good, I pretty much within the first few minutes, I'm like, oh, okay, that guy's kind of cool. I identify with him, or I feel sorry for that guy, or I'm moved by something that just happened. Like a movie that people really hated, which I really liked, was Batman vs. Superman. Because within the first, 15 minutes of that movie, there's that whole opening scene where you see the thing that happened in the Superman movie that preceded Batman vs. Superman from the perspective of Bruce Wayne on the ground, right? Which is just a really cool perspective shift. And also it's just like his building gets destroyed and he sees Superman up in the sky fighting and he's pissed off. And I'm like, okay, I'm into this right now. Like, I get it. Like that's the whole central conflict of the movie. You just got me. Let's go. So like Shawshank Redemption, probably my favorite movie of all time. Right off the bat, you're like, I don't think Andy Dufresne actually killed his wife. And you're like, damn, he's going to jail. This sucks. And you're like, well, I wonder what's going to happen. And you're into it, and then you meet Red, and that's a really cool character. And then the other characters that are all become like the group in the prison, like you're just like into it right away. So to me, that's what makes it great. The special effects and stuff are fine. I'm not against that. And I think sometimes that can really add something to a movie, but I don't think that should be the main gist of what's going on.
Yeah, I didn't get No Country for Old Men. I don't understand what's going on. Like the serial killer, I don't understand why the serial killer exists. I mean, they're all chasing after this money or briefcase or whatever it is, which, all right, I kind of get that, but it just, I didn't get the point. Like what are we going for here? So maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I don't get it, but it's funny to me when people say, well, this movie was fantastic. Like same thing with The Irishman. They wouldn't talk about overrated. Okay. And again, The Irishman was good.
It was decent. I'm not saying it was great, but it was decent. I liked it. I thought it was interesting.
I enjoyed it. It was kind of long, but it kept me interested. But this idea that, was masterpiece by Scorsese and, it's just, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, good, but again, not holding my attention. Now, listen, I understand movies speak to everybody differently. I get that. But, yeah. So, that would be on my overrated list. Maybe it wouldn't be on anybody else's. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons. I mean, there's like, like the first Black Panther. I didn't see the second Black Panther movie, but the first Black Panther movie, I just didn't think it was that good. You know, I from the beginning, I'm just kind of like, you know, it reminded me of that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where Arthur's going around and he's saying, you know, I'm king of the Britons, and it's like, well, who made you king? He's like, well, I pulled a sword out of a water. That's not a very reliable system of government. You're just pulling a sword out of some strange lady's hand from a lake. I mean, that's just kind of weird. In Black Panther, it was like, well, you know, I'm going to be king, but if somebody fights me and beats me, then they're king. I'm like, that doesn't seem like a very stable system. That just seems kind of odd. And there were some other plot problems I had with the plot or whatever. I just thought it was a really overrated movie. But, you know, what are you at the end of the day, what are you going to do? It's just kind of disappointing that I'm just like, I saw Avatar and I'm like, God, that sucked. You know, and then all these people are telling me it's amazing. And I'm just like, what? Am I taking crazy pills? Like, what the fuck is going on here? But, you know, and then they're making a second one, and apparently there's like 2 or 3 more sequels on the way. I'm just like, oh God, somebody stop this guy. But apparently not.
Yeah. So before we go, any recommended TV for anybody? I watched The Flight Attendant on HBO.
Okay, I saw
2 seasons.
Some of it.
It's pretty good. I mean, look, it's a murder mystery basically with like some personal growth stuff in it. So it's kind of a little So it's a little different than just a typical murder mystery movie, but series. So I liked it. I don't know if they're going to do a 3rd season. I don't really know where else they can go with it, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I watched The Terminal List on Amazon Prime. That was pretty good with Chris Pratt. I'm kind of burned out on Yellowstone. I think I'm going to finish out this season. I think we're 7 episodes in, or 6, or something like that. I honestly think I'm just going to finish out this season and then I'm out, because I'm just at this point. I think I'm just kind of bored. It's kind of the same thing over and over and over again, and I just kind of, you know, it's like they're obviously not going to kick him off the ranch, because then there's no story, there's no series anymore. So it's just like this is going to drag out until the ratings tank, and then they're going to be done. I think I may wait a few weeks and then subscribe to Paramount Plus and watch the first season of Tulsa King, because I watched the first episode, that one with Sylvester Stallone. It was all right, you know. I just kind of feel, and I've said this before, I just kind of feel like with a show, with any show, after about 3 or 4 seasons, they start to kind of burn out. I just feel like they kind of end up repeating themselves, and you kind of go, all right, where the hell is this going? And at a certain point, you're just like, how much time do you want to really spend with a couple of characters, really? You know, you just kind of, over time, you're just like, I'm kind of tired of this character. Because in a movie, you really only spend like 2 or 3 hours with somebody, and then you're done. You know, so we'll see. But yeah, other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I was really watching. I keep meaning to subscribe to Apple Plus, because they have that show Foundation, which is based on those Isaac Asimov science fiction novels. They did a season of that, which I'm kind of interested to see, because it looked like, from the previews I saw, it looked pretty cool. But I don't know. I have some vacation time coming up, so maybe I'll check it out. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely need something to get into, but you know, football is going to be, because I mean, we're basically just going to have some sports heating up pretty soon here. You know, we're going to get playoff games and stuff like that, but we do have a few weeks here where we're waiting for the college football to kind of come back to some major bowl games.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll be checking out HBO, see if I find anything else that I can recommend. But
yeah.
So far, that's all I got. So, yeah, I don't know if we'll be on next weekend, or we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird weekend. Maybe we'll do the next Monday or something, or Tuesday, or I don't know. You know, after the... We'll see. Yeah, because we got games on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, so most of the NFL games are on Saturday. There's only 3 games on Sunday.
Okay.
So, but the Dolphins play on Sunday. So we'll be back at some point. Not exactly sure when, but yep, that's all we got for today.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Everybody, have a lovely holiday, whatever you celebrate. And see you soon.